Today, it's a battle between two of the most exciting budget adventure bikes from the Far East, the Kawasaki KLE500 and its strongest challenger from China, the CFMOTO 450MT, also known as the Ibex 450 in North America. Before we dive into performance, let's take a quick look at what's going on under the fairings. Both bikes are powered by parallel twin, but they've got different personalities. The KLE500 runs a more traditional 180-degree crank, derived from the Ninja 500, smooth at high RPM, with a more linear feel power delivery. Meanwhile, the 450MT uses a 270-degree crank, which gives it a throatier sound and a more V-twin-like feel that usually means better low-end torque, rear traction, and a more direct throttle feel. Now, displacement-wise, Kawasaki is being a bit misleading here. The KLE500 name suggests a bigger engine, but actually only has 451 cc, while the CFMOTO 450MT, to be fair, stays true to its name. Compression ratios are pretty close. Both run a conventional double overhead cam setup, and for the gearbox, you get a 6-speed with a slipper and assist clutch on both. On horsepower, the Kawasaki has the edge, about 3 horses more than the CFMOTO. As for torque, it is pretty much neck and neck, both sitting around 42 Newton-meters, with the Kawasaki just slightly ahead. But those are European specs. Depending on the region, things can change quite a bit. In Indonesia, for example, with less strict regulations, the KLE jumps up to around 52 horsepower and revs a bit higher. The CFMOTO also gets a small bump, a couple more horsepower, and about 2 Newton-meters extra. Now, weight is where the 450MT starts to fight back. It's about 9 kilograms lighter. But even then, it's not quite enough to cancel out the power gap. On paper, the KLE still comes out ahead in terms of power to weight, and with the Indonesian spec, that advantage becomes even more noticeable. Now let's take a look at the color options and do a quick sound check. The KLE only comes in one color, metallic gray. If you want more options, you'll have to go for the SE version. The 450MT, on the other hand, gets 2 color options, Zephyr Blue and Nebula Black. As entry-level bikes, features and electronics on both are pretty basic, but the CFMOTO definitely brings more to the table. Both bikes get ABS, and it can be switched off for off-road use. But don't expect things like an IMU, ride-by-wire, or riding modes here. That said, the 450MT still has the edge. It comes with traction control, a manually adjustable windscreen, and a TFT display with multimedia, all as standard. On the Kawasaki, you'll need to step up to the pricier SE model to get things like the adjustable windscreen, TFT dash, and multimedia. Then as for the chassis, it's another win for the CFMOTO. Both bikes use a trellis-style frame, but the 450MT gets a chrome-only one, which offers similar strength to regular steel, but with less weight. Moving on to the suspension, both bikes come with upside-down forks, but the KLE's forks aren't adjustable, while the CFMOTO gives you adjustable rebound and compression. At the rear, the KLE shock is only adjustable for preload, whereas the MT gets a fully adjustable setup. And when it comes to braking, the difference is pretty clear. The KLE still runs a 2-piston axial caliper, while the MT steps it up with a stronger 4-piston radial-mounted setup. Moving on to the wheels, both bikes run the same front tire size, but at the rear, CFMOTO goes with a bigger rim. They both use spoked wheels, but the KLE still sticks with old-school tube-type tires, while the MT gets tubeless, which is way easier to deal with when things go wrong. So yeah, another point for CFMOTO. As for the ergonomics and dimensions, the MT gets a lower and more accessible seat height that can be adjusted optionally, while the KLE has a longer wheelbase for extra stability. The MT also gets a slightly larger fuel tank, which is pretty handy for an adventure bike like these. But the main concern is on the ground clearance. The KLE only gets 185mm, while the MT sits higher at 220mm, so it definitely feels a bit safer when the road gets rough. Now for the price, the 450MT, also known as the Ibex 450 in the US due to trademark reasons, comes in at $6,499, which is basically the same as the KLE, just about $100 cheaper. So, which one should you pick? The KLE does win in terms of power, especially in Southeast Asia markets where it makes noticeably more horsepower. That's nice to have, but honestly, not the most important thing you're looking for in an ADV bike. Everything else pretty much goes to the CFMOTO. Its 270-degree crank gives it strong low to mid-range grunt, making it feel more responsive, and yeah, it sounds better too. It's also lighter, and comes packed with more features like traction control, an adjustable windscreen, TFT display, and smartphone connectivity. Chassis-wise, the MT is also clearly ahead. You get a lighter chromoly frame, adjustable forks, and a fully adjustable rear shock. Meanwhile, the KLE's fork isn't adjustable at all, and the rear shock only gets preload adjustment. The MT keeps pulling ahead and braking as well, with a stronger 4-piston radial caliper, while the KLE still relies on a 2-piston axial setup. And let's not forget, the KLE is still running old-school tube tires, whereas the MT already gets tubeless. On top of that, the CFMOTO has a bigger fuel tank despite being lighter, optional seat height options, and better ground clearance, while the KLE's 185mm is a bit on the low side for an adventure bike. Price-wise, they're very close, but the MT still undercuts the KLE by about $100. So yeah, the CFMOTO basically dominates in almost every area except outright horsepower. Of course, Kawasaki still has the edge in after-sales support and that proven reliability reputation, but aside from that, the CFMOTO is just a more complete package.